today's undoubtedly the biggest day in Canadian soccer history. So we knew we had to go live in some capacity to share in the moment with all of you. I can't promise it will all be cohesive or rational, but it should be a lot of fun on this. A brief special edition of Waking the Red Weekly presented by Footy Talks. As always, I'm Mitchell Tierney. And the man to my left is Michael Singh. Michael, God, there's not much to say after today. I mean, an incredible moment. I have to keep repeating it to myself just to get my head around it. But Canada are Olympic champions in women's soccer.
Yeah, I hope my internet holds up for this, because I think I just, out of excitement, just got too pumped up and perhaps knocked it out. But hopefully you guys can hear me all right at least. Holy Mitch. Holy, I needed to take a quick shower before this one just to get like the tears out of my eyes, because it's just such a substantial moment for the game in this country. Undoubtedly, as you said, the biggest moment in Canadian soccer, men or women, in this country. And this is going to be felt for generations because of what the women set out for and what they accomplished today. How are you feeling, Mitch?
I mean, absolutely. It's hard to even think about like how big this is, just because you want to focus on the moment right now, and I'll think about tomorrow and all the impacts of this when that comes. But right now, it's just special. Obviously, I mean, for so many reasons. I think the biggest one for a lot of us is just seeing Christine Sinclair, the queen of football, finally get her crown. It's such a special moment for all of us. And I mean, well, let's talk a bit about how they got there, because this was one of the wilder games that I've seen in a long time. Like, just a crazy final with so many ups and downs. First half, I think it's fair to say Sweden were far and away the most dominant team, and there was a going into halftime. I mean, there wasn't really a road back into this game for Canada. It didn't seem like.
Yeah, I mean, they had no answer for Sweden continuously switching play. I thought Sweden did well to attack Alicia Chapman's flank. And, sometimes they had numbers there on that side, and they kept on continuously whipping in crosses. And, Sweden's a tall team. They're a team that's good in the air. And ironically enough, it was a low cross that really, kind of caught Vanessa Gilles off guard. I think she was expecting something in the air, something for the Swedish striker to attack, but threw him off guard. And as you said, first half went to Sweden. Canada had a decent spell of play, I think, between maybe the 20th minute and like the 30th minute, where they were connecting well. It looked like everyone was in sync, and then Sweden just took over. So to concede right before halftime, head into that break,
yeah.
I wish I could be a fly on the locker room there in Bev Priestman's locker, because I want to know what she said. She made some important changes out of that break, and Canada came back looking kind of a different side. And the heart on this team, Mitch, heading into that second half, eh?
Yeah. I want to, like you said, I want to double back and give Bev Priestman plenty of credit, because wow, was she brave with those halftime substitutions, pulling off. Who was it? Quinn, who, they've been such an instrumental player throughout this tournament, and Janine Beckie, who we know what she's brought to Canada for so many years in terms of veteran presence there. And, going with Deanne Rose and Julia Grosso, who are younger and, less experienced players. But
she actually went with Adriana Leon.
Oh, Adriana Leon, sorry, and then brought Deanne Rose.
Which is
later.
Even bolder, because Leon hasn't really got like a crazy amount of playing time during this tournament. Yeah. So yeah, keep going, Mitch.
Well, I guess that those are the two players I'd like to focus on in the second half. Is Grosso, who gave Canada a little more attacking impetus in the middle there, which was so critical. I mean, we'll obviously get to her biggest contribution a little bit later as we take this chronologically, and then Deanne Rose, who I thought had a magnificent game. I mean, she was the player who constantly was getting in behind the Swedish backline, causing them all kinds of issues. That was a tremendous performance from the youngster. And again, she shows up in medal games. We saw her score against Brazil in that bronze medal game, and then a huge performance in the gold medal game. Incredible from Rose.
Well, I got to even give her some more kudos, because she was the one who won the penalty against the Americans. Was Dan Rose. And like you said, like Great substitution by Bev Priestman. I put in the Slack chat literally like 2 minutes before she was taken off. I'm like, guys, Nichelle Prince is looking like a little tire out there. It looks like the
Hmm.
weather's getting to her a bit. And 2 minutes later, Deanne Rose comes on, and she makes a difference right away. Mitch, she
Yeah.
connects down that left hand side with Alicia Chapman, who the entire match was honestly struggling to connect down that left hand side. And I
Hmm.
think Deanne Rose made a nifty turn on the wing, set up Chapman for that cross. It gets cut back to the middle. And how fitting is it, Mitch, that the person on the end of that ball was none other than Christine Sinclair.
Hmm.
And as you tweeted out, VAR, man, it's the best. It's the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. I think there was obviously the American one, there was a little more doubt. Maybe this one to me was pretty clear. I mean, she comes through her completely, even if she does get a touch on the ball at that point, like you can't come through an attacker like that. We've seen that time and time again. So I mean, it's still nervy moments because you're never sure what the referee is going to do. But again, the second, and once again, like I know Jesse Fleming had just scored a big penalty. I thought Sinclair was going to take it just because, it's such a big moment. It's a gold medal game. But once again, Sinclair putting the team above herself and letting Jesse Fleming take it. And I mean, Jesse Fleming is just money from PKs.
Ice in her veins. That's just, literally the whole game. She's willing to take a touch within, I don't know, the tightest area of space. I wish we had Jeff on here to give me a better analogy than that, but Jesse Fleming is so composed on the ball. And I put out a tweet there, and I honestly, she's making a very strong case for this. She could be the best player on this Canadian women's national team. She's making a very strong case for that. We've always given kudos to Ashley Lawrence. Obviously, Kadisha Buchanan deserves some love as well. But the torch is being passed, and there's some good candidates there to really step up and take hold of what really is a legacy that's going to be unparalleled in Christine Sinclair's. But in saying that, I mentioned three names there that are relatively young,
Hmm.
and that's really a testament to this Canadian national team's program. That it's no longer just a one person show, Mitch. You've
Hmm.
got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different names you can really throw into that mix that are going to be the ones that carry this next generation forward. And I
Yeah.
think that we saw that throughout this tournament. There's so many different people making an impact. I'm going to backtrack here a little bit, but we think back to the opening game where it was Christine Sinclair getting the scoring started for Canada, and then you
Hmm.
have 2 goals from Janine Becky, and what a performance she put in. And I don't want to forget her, so I will absolutely give her some love. Stephanie Labbe,
Yeah.
holy cow, what, like,
Oh,
from beginning
yeah.
to end,
We're definitely going to get
right?
to Labe
Yeah, for
untouched.
sure.
Yeah.
But from beginning to end, she started off the tournament getting injured and battled back, won her place back in net.
Hmm.
And to do what she did today, like, of course, we're going to give her some more love. Nichelle Prince, again, very good moving forward. She offered Canada something they really didn't have, and that was some pace in behind, some constant pressure. Vanessa Gilles, I mean, come
Yeah.
on, come on, what a story that is. We talked about it a little bit on last episode, but cracking into the side, replacing Shalina Zadorsky, and Vanessa Gilles is just
Hmm.
so important throughout the course of this tournament. But man, I can go on and on going through the whole list of names here because everyone deserves some credit. It was really a team effort, man.
Absolutely. And that is such a nice part about this is that it was such a team effort. But I did want to pick up a little bit on Jessie Fleming because I think it is a good point of how far she's come as a player because, obviously she broke through with this team at such a young age and everyone was touting her as the next big thing. And then I think she kind of stagnated a little bit through her college career and through just the way the national team was kind of in upheaval between coaches and stuff. I didn't,
Even
there was a couple of
Chelsea,
years. Pardon?
even Chelsea, like she
Yeah.
wasn't getting playing time, right?
But with that being said, like I do think the move to Chelsea was super instrumental because I know she wasn't getting playing time, but she was in this winning environment where obviously they went out and won the FAWSL this year, and I think
Good
that in
point.
itself being pushed with, some of the best players in the world, and getting that opportunity has really had her take a step forward. And obviously, in Canada's biggest moments at this tournament, it was Jessie Fleming who delivered. And I mean, to start the penalty kicks as well, Labe, the post is hit on the first one, then Fleming converts the second one, and then, I mean, quite frankly, all hell broke loose after that. That was one of the most nerve-wracking and insane penalty shootouts I've ever seen, because Sweden seemed to have it for so long, and every time you thought it was going to be a goal or a save, the opposite would happen.
Right? It was, like I said, like you said, one of the most bizarre shootouts I've seen. There were so many times where I'm like, oh man, this is over for Canada. Like, they made a good run. We're here. It's going to be disappointing, but well deserved. And then Sweden skies that penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth and last penalty. That had
Yeah.
I'm a Manchester United fan. That had John Terry Champions League final. I think it was 2007 where he slipped kind of vibes, and almost a miracle for Canada there, where she skied that penalty, and then the composure again from Dan Rose to go top corner, top shelf on the fifth and final penalty. From that moment on, I'm like, okay, that one in the back of the net, there's a real chance here. And then obviously the another massive save from Stephanie Labe, which set up the moment, Mitch. And of course, who else but 20-year-old Julia Grosso stepping up to the spot. And what went through your mind, man?
I don't know if anything went through my mind. It was just pure, I don't know, shock and relief that they actually, because again, like you said, there was multiple moments in that penalty shootout where I thought it was over for Canada, because even when something good happened for them, like a post was hit or Labe made a save, like Labe made that save, and Leon misses the next penalty, and you're like, oh, we're just back at square one here. So I at that point, I just couldn't believe it. I still can't really that it went that way. But yeah, I mean, obviously we saw how many incredibly, on both teams, how many incredibly experienced and well-versed top players stepped up to penalties and weren't able to hold their composure. So for a 20-year-old in a game like this, and even if you want to harken back to England, obviously, and the young guys and their struggles in that penalty shootout, being a young player and to be able to keep your composure from the spot like that is incredible. And yeah, I think it says so much about Julia Grosso and the future she has with this team, and obviously, again, the present she has with this team to deliver a moment like that.
It's really her coming out party, man, because she is. Within the Canada soccer circle, about Julia Grosso. That, she is part of the next generation coming up. But she now put herself right in the front of the bus for Canadian soccer fans, or just Canadians in general watching this, because there were millions of Canadians watching this, and Julia Grosso is the one to step up. She's gonna have some iconic photos, some great photos for her Instagram. The rest of her life, she has a couple shots there that are just gonna frame that, get that set up, because I'm gonna frame it. It's just that
100%,
that special, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, I tweeted this out. This is a moment I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, because it's just that special. We saw a couple times Canada coming ever so close to getting over that hump. And the fact they not only got over that hump, got past the US in the semifinals, but managed to, again, as an underdog, defeat Sweden, who really got the better of US by a long shot, 3-0 earlier in this tournament. For them to do that after defeating Brazil, after defeating the Americans, come on. It doesn't really get more special than that, Mitch.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about iconic moments from this tournament we have on the past in the podcast. Obviously, the Jessie Fleming knee slide will be one that will live long in our memory, but Christine Sinclair just yelling into the empty stadium, Julia Grosso, will be one of those great moments that I think we'll remember forever. Absolutely insane. And another thing I think I will never forget is the stare downs that Steph Labe was giving those Swedish players before all of those penalties. I mean, you look at goalkeepers' faces going into PKs, and sometimes they look different. There was no doubt ever in her mind that like you're gonna have to beat me, and you're probably not going to. And I mean, that had to be so unbelievably intimidating as a Swedish player stepping up because you knew that she'd already made several penalty saves in this competition, and second, like, yeah, she just looked unbeatable.
And she did mention before the tournament that this would likely be her last Olympic Games for Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And man, what a way to go out. To go out on top. And as you said, like her intimidation there, that's some like CONCACAF stuff, man. We see that all the time when you're in CONCACAF,
Yeah.
just playing mind games with your opponents. That's some veteran presence there. And I gotta say, like heading into the shootout, yes, she did have some success um, leading up to this final, because obviously against Brazil she was fantastic. But I was a little nervous because Labe is not the biggest goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't cover a lot of net. So like when it comes to a shootout, you want someone who's longer who can get down to the corners. But man, she read it well. She made the save she needed to make. And of course, she got some good fortune, which is all just a recipe for success.
Mm-hmm.
And man, she deserves as much kudos as anyone on this Canadian women's national team for really carrying them forward and being such an important presence there at the back.
Yeah, and sometimes, obviously, even from that close, it's not just about making the save. It's about putting off the striker that little bit that their shot calibration is just off. They're not thinking straight, or they just over kick it or under kick it. And with the post and the miss, like again, you have to give Labe plenty of credit for that because obviously she got into the heads of the Swedish shooters.
Yeah. And Mitch, Danny here saying in the chat, this is the most important year in Canada's soccer sports history. With
Mhm.
World Cup qualifiers still coming up, the momentum of this year will solidify Canada as a soccer nation moving forward. What are your thoughts on that, man?
I mean, I think we're very clearly a soccer nation now. I mean, I'm pretty sure that we are now the first country to ever win gold medals in both men's and women's soccer. Obviously, we won men's soccer when they were playing with like a pig bladder, and so that one's not maybe as impactful. But with that being said, yeah, I think today proves that Canada is a soccer nation. But obviously, yes, this is a big year for building on that as well on the men's side of the program, the opportunity that they now have to follow this up and get themselves to the biggest stage. I think obviously, are you laughing at La Beta TFC?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think obviously like again it falls into two categories. Obviously, you want to see this built on and to continue to see the program move forward, but at the same time, like you just have to celebrate moments like this. Like there's really not much bigger heights that Canada soccer can get to than an Olympic gold medal. So you've got to just enjoy this moment.
And yeah, we're sitting here, we're trying to take this all in, but man, I don't think this is something that's really gonna sink in for at least a couple of days, if not weeks, if not years. We talk
Hmm.
about the effect that the 2012 push to bronze medal had, eventually giving Canada the 2015 Women's World Cup at home. And one story in particular that stood out was Julia Grasso. In 2012, she was 11 years old, sitting at home in BC, watching Christine Sinclair and Canada obviously win that bronze medal. Diana Matheson, shout out. Now, 9 years later, that same 11-year-old girl steps up to the spot for the Canadian women's national team to win an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah.
Arash Madani tweeted this out. There are thousands and thousands of little girls now out there that just watched Julia Grasso do that and are going to think I can do the same thing.
Hmm.
And this effect, like I said, is going to be felt for generations, and the magnitude of this moment cannot be overstated.
Hmm.
What a historic time for Canadian soccer. And even just thinking about it gives me goosebumps, and I just can't wait to see where it goes from here. And speaking of where it goes from here, as Masood there is writing in the chat, when is it time for Canada to get a women's professional team or even a women's professional league?
Hmm.
Is it not way too late? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
expecting to see one. I'm expecting to see one soon, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, the best time to do this would have been like yesterday, essentially. At this point, like there is no easier or better time now, off the back of this gold medal, to you know augment the game in this country on so many different levels, and probably the most important one is building a domestic structure. Like the fact that Canada was able to win this gold medal without a domestic league or even a domestic team at the highest level is unbelievable. That like they're at such a disadvantage in the women's game now, with that being the fact. So if they can add that infrastructure to this program already, and what we've seen them do, then I mean it's going to be a game changer. And Canada's not only going to be, again, they're at the top right now, but they're going to consistently be at the top if they can do that.
Absolutely ridiculous that they're literally Olympic champions and there's
Hmm.
no real infrastructure. No offense to the League One, women's league,
Hmm.
but literally at the top of the world, on top of the world, and Canada doesn't even have its own domestic league.
Hmm.
I, again, what a feat by this Canadians. Now imagine if they had that as well. Just how
Hmm.
much better the program would be in this country. Mitch, just maybe one or two more things before we kind of wrap up here. Player of the tournament for you. Who is it?
Oh, oh man, that's difficult just because I mean, like we've said, it was such a team performance from Canada. Like there's so many individual performances that you'd love to shout out, but I mean, now that the political side part is aside, I'm just gonna say Steph Labbe. Like, I mean, I think she delivered when Canada needed it most, and obviously Canada again didn't provide much offense during this tournament. They needed some really big key saves, and I thought, I mean, yeah, this was a one of the great goaltending performances from a Canadian.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean you can't really argue with that. That Lave is definitely deserving of a shout there. Like you said, there's so many candidates that can go into that mix. I'll even throw, potentially even Vanessa Gilles' name in there as a potential, candidate. Kadeshi Buchanan, solid as ever.
Hmm.
Ashley Lawrence deserves some love. She's playing out of position. You can put her right flank. You can put her left flank. This girl can flat out ball wherever you put her. And, it wasn't her ideal position, but she still managed to make a difference. But I said my shout, probably at the beginning of the show, Jessie Fleming, for me, was probably the standout performer throughout the course of this tournament. Not only, with the penalties, cool, calm, collected, but her play in the midfield just to keep possession under tight areas, just to add some composure into the Canadian side. I thought, her decision making was excellent. There weren't too many misplaced passes from her. Her touch on point as ever. And what's really impressive is her engine, man. This
Hmm.
I think she played. I might be wrong about this, but I think she played every minute of this Olympic tournament. And for a fact that despite the amount of running that she's doing up and down the field and in the center of the park, which obviously you need the most from, there was never a second where Bev Priestman, was thinking about taking her off because
Hmm.
she is that important to this team. And I thought she showed so much heart throughout this tournament and so much quality. So for me, I think it was Jessie Fleming.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a fair shout as well. And yeah, I mean, obviously on the fitness aspect, like we saw what this Tokyo Heat and the intensity of these games did to a lot of players, and how much rotation all the squads had to do. So that in itself is when we're talking about great athletic accomplishments at the Olympics, like the ability to stay on the pitch and do what she did for that long is certainly one of them on its own. Not to mention, what she was doing when she was on the pitch to secure Canada this gold medal. But I think if you're good with it, we'll wrap up there. I don't know if there's much more I can add other than just head shakes and just being in
Well,
awe of what we saw Canada accomplish here.
one thing I wanna add, Mitch. I'm gonna throw you under the bus here. Moments after Canada won the gold medal, I opened the Slack chat,
Oh
or
boy.
Awaken the Red Slack chat. And just to put in perspective what this moment means, Mitchell Tierney, tarp off, shirt off, waving in the air, sending a photo of himself celebrating. Iconic. We saw some great photos. I think one that stood out to me was with Julia Grosso running back to the Canadian team, the Canadian women's national team, obviously storming Julia Grosso. That was also iconic. Christine Sinclair laying down on the ground with her hand over her face, also iconic. But I gotta say, man, the most iconic photo might just be Mitchell Tierney, shirt off, waving it in the air in celebration. Like this is a moment I think we're gonna take the rest of the day to celebrate. I can't even tell you guys what this moment means to us, especially as people who have covered the game in this country. I'm happy that the rest of Canada can join us along for this ride because it's super special and monumental for the game in this country, men or women. These guys are going to be remembered for generations. Christine Sinclair, 38 years old. She finally has her Olympic gold medal. I don't think I can say a stronger statement than that, simply because everyone knows what Christine Sinclair means to not only this women's national team, not only to the soccer in general, but just as an athlete to this country.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is her last go around with Canada, but if it is, just simply thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
The GOAT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, just so many incredible, if it is the end for Sinclair, just so many incredible memories and moments that she delivered and really allowed this country to believe. And they've talked about this a lot. The I think I can versus I know I can. Christine Sinclair showed this country that, we now know that we can compete with the best in the world and deliver big moments on the biggest stage. And I'm just so happy that she because I felt like I always knew she was going to lead us there, whether it was her legacy or her being a player. But I'm so happy that as a player, she was the one who, she got to have that moment. That's just so incredible.
Like I'm gonna every time I think about it, I get goosebumps. I get teary eyed because it's storybook. It's beyond storybook because we've seen her for like 20 years, literally fight for this Canadian women's national team. We've seen her have broken noses for this Canadian women's national team. We've seen her literally put the team on her back for generations, and now playing in perhaps will be her last Olympic Games, she finally gets over that hill and captures Olympic gold. I don't think words can justify what that moment means for someone like Christine Sinclair. Man, I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy today.
Absolutely. I think, this happiness is going to obviously carry over for a while, but I think we'll wrap things up there. What an incredible day for Canadian soccer. On behalf of Michael and myself, thank you so much for tuning in to this special edition of Waking the Red Weekly. And I have to say it one more time because, again, it's still not through my head. Canada, Olympic women's football champions. Let's go.
Go!